Welcome back to Gemini Studios. My name is AJ, and in this video we are going to create a 3D card that flips, or a card that flips in 3D. In this platform we create simple websites, but we also do cool things that can enhance your website, and that's what we're going to do today. So let's go ahead and let's get started. First, notice that we have a desktop breakpoint and it's a frame. Also, you can come up here and you can rename yours. I'm gonna call mine 3D card. You can call it whatever you want. Now once that's done, let's go ahead and make sure that the desktop is selected, and let's give it a layout by clicking this plus here. So once you give that a layout, the frame turns into a stack, and this is gonna help us work easier by keeping things organized. Now inside of this new stack called desktop, we're going to go ahead and create a frame. Hit F on your keyboard and start drawing. Now notice that if you hold shift, you can create an even square, or you can not hold shift and just give it a free form. I'm gonna go ahead and hold shift and create a frame. After creating that frame, notice that it got pushed to the top. We're gonna go ahead and select the desktop, and we are going to change the distribution from start to center. Now we're going to select the frame right here, and we are going to give it a height and a width of 600. Since the aspect ratio is already locked, once I change, let's say, the width to 600, the height should shift automatically. Okay, now let's change the color of that frame to green, for example. Yeah, let's do green. And now with the frame selected, we're gonna hit F on our keyboard and create another frame inside of that, and we're gonna give this one a red color. Now select this red frame and press and hold Command or Control on your keyboard and press the letter D to duplicate it. Now as you can see, there's two frames here. We're gonna go ahead and move one of them to the bottom, and we are going to change the color of the bottom one to blue. So let's select a blue color, something maybe lighter than that, something perhaps like that. Okay, now before we move on, let's remember that it's always a good idea to keep things organized. So let's rename these frames here. So this one that's housing the other two, we're gonna call this one card faces. We're gonna call this one should be down here. We're gonna call the red one front, and we're gonna call the blue one back. Now we gotta turn this into a component in order to make the animation for the card to flip in 3D. You don't necessarily have to do that, but in order to create the animations that we're going to do, it is a good idea to turn this into a component. Now before we turn this into a component, we have to add an extra frame, and I will explain why after we turn it into a component. So click the card faces frame, and we are going to right click on it and go down here and add a frame. Now we have a frame that's housing the card or the card faces, and now we have both faces inside. So this new frame, we're gonna call this one 3D card. Now the reason why I added this frame is because once you turn this into a component, this frame will become the component, and there are certain options that we need to adjust that are not available if it's a component. So we're going to right click on this 3D card, and we're going to create a component. I'm going to leave the name as is. You can name it whatever you want and hit create. All right, now we are inside of the component, and that extra frame called 3D card turned into an actual component, and we don't have the options that we need here on the side in order to make the animation and the transitions and the transformations. That's why we added that extra frame. But we have this frame called card faces, and this is enough to make the transformations happen. So before we move on, let me explain what's going on here. We have this green space. Imagine that this is a credit card. This is the actual plastic, and if you turn it, you can see that on the sides it has a certain amount of thickness to it. So this represents the plastic card, And then this front card represents the information in the front, and the blue one is the information in the back of the card. So let's adjust this before we move on. Let's select the credit card or the card faces, and we are going to come down here where it says transform. We're going to give this a perspective. We are also going to select let's see, rotation. We already have that. Perspective, and we're going to select preserve 3D. Now there's a reason why I selected, or I added all of these options under the transform section, and that is because if you don't have a perspective, the card doesn't look like it's rotating in 3D. For example, let's remove that perspective. If I were to select these card faces, right, since we added the option to rotate, you can select 3D. Now you have X, Y, and Z. If you were to click here on the Y option, click and drag up, you can see how the card is supposedly rotating, but it looks more like it's expanding and contracting, and that's because we don't have perspective. So if we add a perspective to the card faces, now we have a 1200 perspective, which is fine for our case. You can adjust this, but this is okay, this is fine. Now if we try to rotate, now you can see that the card is giving the illusion that it's rotating in 3D. Now we have a couple of problems. One, the card is not visible all the way. It gets cut off inside of that square, and also the back of the card looks the same, and we need to change that. So we're gonna change this back to 0. Now we're gonna go up here to the variant, select the variant, and now we have to come on the right hand side where it says overflows and change it from hidden to visible. Now if you select the card faces, come down here on the transform, click the Y option, drag up. Now the card is visible outside of the square. Great. Now we gotta make sure that the back of the card is visible. But before we do that, there is a couple of things that we have to adjust. First, let's expand the front face. Select the front face, and as you can see, there are several pins here, and we have to pin it to every single side of the card so that it will expand and take all the space of the credit card. If you are unable to select every single pin like so, it is because the actual card has a fixed aspect ratio. For instance, if I lock the aspect ratio, you can see that now the bottom is not selectable. If I select the bottom, the top is not selectable, and that's because this has a locked aspect ratio that cannot expand freely if need be inside of the actual credit card. So we're going to unlock this, make sure that every corner is pinned, and now we are going to make sure that every space on every side is 0 so that it can actually expand all around evenly. So 0 here, the 0 on the sides, and 0 at the bottom, and there you go. Now it expanded all the way. We're going to do the same thing with the back card. Select it and make sure that the aspect ratio is unlocked, pin every single side, and make sure that the distance is 0 all the way. Now the back card did the same thing. Problem is the back card is not visible, but it is there, it is here. And even if I were to come and select this card face and I'll try rotating it again, the back of it is still red. You cannot see the blue face, which is the back, and that's because we have to do another adjustment. So select both the front and the rear cards, and we're going to come down here on the right hand side on the transform, select this option again, and select back face. Now that the back face appeared, we're going to change it from visible to hidden, and what that means is that the back of the front and the let's just say the red and the blue side, okay, the back part of each one of those sections, red and blue, are going to be invisible. So if I were to select not the card, but let's say the front card, come that back here, we're going to add rotation, and let's rotate in 3D again on the y-axis. You can see the front of the card is visible, but when it turns to the other side, it's not visible again because we have back face to hidden. You see, if I were to change this to visible, you can see the back face of the red card, but we want this to be hidden. And now with the front face selected, let's bring back this down to 0. And there you go. Now, it is important that both of these, you add a back face option under the transform by clicking this plus and set it to hidden. Now we can move on to the next step. Next step will be to select the variant, and we are going to go ahead and click on this option here to add a second variant. There you go. Now we have a second variant, and this is the variant that's going to show the back of the card. Now let's give it a shot. Let's see what's happening. Let's see what's happening here. Now select the card faces inside of the second variant, and we're going to come down here and we are going to rotate. And what happened? We cannot see the back face. So no worries. Let's select this and make it 180 to return rotate all the way. And now we're going to select the back face, okay, which is the blue one. And we are also going to rotate this 180 degrees. So if you don't have rotation, yeah, I do have rotation. There you go. Rotation, 3D. And now here, let's rotate this. So you can see, I'm going to do it slow so you can see what I mean. Rotate, rotate. There you go. You see it now? The reason why you couldn't see it is because the back, which is this side of the card, is set to not visible. But now since we are rotating, we can see the front of it. So let's give this a rotation of 180. And now we can see the back of the face. So regular card, this is facing forward. You see it has no rotation. And the flip side of it, which is variant 2, it has a rotation of 180. Now you can see the back of the card. Now I tried my best to explain this. If you don't understand it, you can ask in the comments and I'll do my best to reply to you. But if you rewind the video, you might be able to see exactly what's going on here. So take your time until you understand. This is very crucial. Okay, so you see this card is rotated 180 degrees. If I were to move this, you can see the front, and now you can see the back. All right, and that's how you do it. Now one more thing, you select the variant, first variant. We're going to click here and we're going to select the second variant so that you can connect from this one to this one, and then select the second variant, click this, drag it over to the first variant. Now if I were to hit play here and you click on it, you can see that it turned, but it's doing it very quickly. And also you can see that green background. We don't want that. Now let's slow that down a little bit so you can see exactly what's happening by selecting the first variant, coming to transitions, and now we're gonna select physics, spring, physics. We're gonna bring this down to 150, and the damping, we're gonna change that to 72. Now this is gonna be significantly slower, and this is for the purpose of you seeing exactly what's happening here. So if I were to click here, it turns to the back, and if you click it again, it turns to the front. Now it's glitching out a little bit because we are going to give it some depth so that you can actually see the car in 3D and that glitch doesn't happen. But for now, you have a working car that when you click on it, it flips. When you click on it again, it flips back. All right, and this is going to be part 1 of this series. On the next part, we're going to give the card depth, we're going to fix that glitch, and we are going to add more stuff to it. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.